Olá, meus amigos, Deus abençoe a
Hello,
todos.
my friends. May God bless all of you in the name of Jesus. Starting today, we are going to begin a great movement of faith on behalf of all women. We're going to take one day, which will be Holy Saturday, the 19th of April.
Nós teremos
We are going to have great gatherings of faith on behalf of women
em todo o
in
Brasil
all of Brazil
e pelo mundo
and
afora também.
worldwide as well.
Nós vamos
We
reunir
are going
essas
to gather the women
que têm sido
who have been victims of men and also children
homens
who have been victims of pedophiles.
pelos pedófilos. Nós tivemos aí há pouco tempo
We had a couple of days ago the International Women's Day, and every year it's the same thing. They make this big party, big fuss about the Women's International Day, and at the end of the day, nothing changes. No benefit to women at all. The only thing that they say is that women have value. That's it. Just a bunch of false propaganda. We also have laws that protect against domestic violence. We have laws here in Brazil that should protect women who have been battered by men, by their husbands. We even have here police stations for women to give support to those women who have been battered by their husbands. What has happened? Nothing. They have laws in favor of women. There are police stations designed for women, but women continue suffering the same abuse because there are many men who kill their women, their own wives, because of jealousy, because of many, many reasons.
por conta de uma série de razões. As mulheres continuam sofrendo as
Women
mesmas
continue suffering the same old problems, abuse after abuse, from lovers, from their husbands, from whoever.
Seja como for, nós vamos botar a boca no trombone. Nós da Igreja Universal.
But we are going to change the situation. We of the Universal Church, we are going to gather and unite our faith with women. Not only the church, the men of the church are going to unite their faith with the women of the church, and we are going to cry out on behalf of these women, because only God can help them. If the police station can't help them, if the laws for women can't help them, only God can help them. So we believe in the power of God. So on the 19th of April, it's going to be Holy Saturday.
De aleluia. Nós teremos dia
On the
18
18th of April is going to be Good Friday, where we celebrate the death of Jesus.
de Jesus, a morte, o assassinato de Jesus. E no sábado,
And on Saturday,
no sábado,
we have Holy Saturday, which is called Holy Saturday.
nós então nesse dia
On that day, we are going to be crying out to God on behalf of women.
Por quê?
Why? Because Jesus
Foi o único
was the first and only one who really honored women. From the very beginning of humanity, women have been stepped on, have been brutally treated by men, by tyrants.
nocivo. E se você ler a
And if you read the Bible, you will see
que quase não se
that
fala,
very rarely are we talking about women. Very few times do we see women being brought up in the Bible. So what did Jesus say? What did Jesus do?
Jesus mudou
He changed this concept. He changed the value of women. He changed the value of women. He was the only one who really placed women where they belong. They placed them side by side to men.
da mulher, igualou
He gave them equal rights. And it was hard not to do that because,
fazê-lo, porque
in fact, in reality, men and women are the same. And when we get married, when I got married to my wife, she became my flesh and I was her head. We united a body. And there's no way to separate that. Jesus said that. Jesus said that when both get married, they become one flesh. And that's why there should not be separation. So on the 19th of April, we are going to have this great gathering of faith all around Brazil in favor of women. We are going to cry out. We are going to shout. We are going to scream and bring about the problems that women are going through. And we are going to show with our work, with the work that the Universal Church has been making and doing, that we are valuing women. We are placing women where she should always have been placed. And we brought here today Christiane, who is going to be leading this movement together with all the other women of the Universal Church throughout Brazil. Christiane, please tell us, what are your opinions about this situation, about this subject?
I see that in as much as there has been a social growth for women, because in these last few years, women have gained a lot of ground. We now have many rights, laws that protect women. We have our own international day. Not even men have their own international day, but women do.
But it's worthless.
But it's worthless, and for as much as women may have all this, they are still depreciating in their value, not only by the people around them, but by themselves. And that is a woman's greatest problem. Because to women, it really doesn't matter how much she may have or how many people she may have around her. There is something inside of her that leaves her without that self-worth. And that's a woman's greatest battle.
So the inner conflicts that women have, they all begin with themselves. It starts in their mind.
It starts inside of her. Women put themselves down. She can begin to understand why she feels so undervalued by others. And women are easily subjected to abuse. Like you, Marcia, you went through this.
I had many achievements in my personal life, but none of that was enough to change how I felt inside, which was a huge
inferiority complex.
And because of that, I got involved into an abusive relationship.
Now tell me something, Marcia. You're talking about inferiority complex. When a person like myself, who has been born with a birth defect, I had my reasons to have an inferiority complex. But what was your reason? What was your birth defect? What was the problem that you had? Did you only have one arm, or were you blind? What was the physical defect that you had that made you feel inferior to others?
It wasn't a physical defect, but it was because I was a daughter of a single mom and was brought up by my grandparents.
So you were a daughter of a single mother. So you're saying that as the daughter of a single mother, you felt inferior to others.
Exactly. I would see my friends having a family, a home, even though we knew that they were not happy sometimes. At least they had their parents. I didn't. I had a father on one side and a mother on the other side, who never lived in the same house, and I was raised by my grandparents.
Now I imagine, Marcia, how a child being born of a single mother who doesn't even know who her father is or who his dad is. So you who had this father, but they were separated, you were brought up with this complex. Imagine someone who doesn't even know their father or doesn't know their mother. It's like someone who has no parent. How are these children going to grow and evolve? How are they going to move forward in their lives? That's the reason why society is the way it is.
Especially in the case of women. When a girl does not grow up with a father figure, she will look for a relationship that will fill that gap left by the absence of her father. And usually, she gets into wrong relationships with men who are much older than her and dominative, because inside of her she has the need of a father figure and the discipline that she did not have.
And the protection, right?
Yes, and she has a tendency to get involved with the wrong person because of this emotional deficiency that she carries, which many times she is not aware of. And that was one of the complexes that I had. Raised by my grandparents, which was a favor to me. Not that they would tell me that, but they raised me with lots of care. I felt as if I was a burden. So, even though I did not have a physical defect, I felt ugly and I felt like I was bothering others. And a pressure of always having to do the best, to be the best student, to be the best behaved at home, the most responsible, in order to pay them back for the favor that they had done for me.
Marcia, you said that you felt ugly. Honestly, look at you now. I know many things passed, but did you really think that you were ugly?
I didn't think that I was ugly.
But in that moment you did, right?
Yes, I would think that I was horrible. Since I was a little girl, I would use short hair like a boy, pants, t-shirts. I would always wear dark colors, and it was like this since I was 5.
So the complex was very strong with you.
It was, and I was not even aware of it. Just like many women are not aware of what they live and the image that they place out there. That begins inside of them and not outside.
Now, tell us more. How did you develop?
Well, I grew up this way, always trying to be the best student, the best granddaughter, take care of my grandparents, and not be a headache. Because I had this in mind. I cannot bring trouble to anyone. Until the day I turned 12 and I was molested by someone very close to my family. So, what was already a complex within me became my defining trait. The feeling of rejection brought by my dad and by my mother as well, because by this time she had moved into her own home and she didn't take me with her. Living with my grandparents, with the pressure of having to be perfect, and on top of that, being molested. So, I didn't see a future for me.
So you felt very alone. Alone in the world.
And the worst part is, Bishop, many women have this inside of them and they don't have the courage to say it. They feel rejected by God due to the things that they went through.
And did you think that God was guilty for all of this?
No, I didn't think that God was to blame. But I thought that there was something very wrong with him that would let him allow those things to happen to me. So in the same way I felt rejected by my father and my mother, it was as if God also had rejected me.